time for Live Music Friday, this week courtesy of the multiple Grammy-nominated Skylark Vocal Ensemble, a group that's gotten a ton of praise and actually was brought to our attention by our wonderful colleague and friend at WCRB, Brian McCreath. Tonight at 7 p.m. at St. Paul's Parish in Harvard Square, they'll perform a rendition of composer Sergei Rachmaninoff's 1915 masterpiece, The All-Night Vigil. Skylarkensemble.org. Skylarkensemble.org for info and tickets. And if you missed that, they're also in Greenwich, Connecticut's Christ Church Sunday at 3. Before tonight's show, they're here to perform for us. After we hear the music, we'll talk with artistic director / founder Matthew Gard, singers Fotina Naumenko and Eric Alatorre. But first, here's the Skylark Vocal Ensemble, all, I think, 22 of them, performing the 7th movement from the All-Night Vigil. Welcome to you all. That was perfect, all of you. Thank you so much. 3 of you are going to join us. Please come on. As I said, those joining us are Skylark's artistic director and founder, Matthew Gard, soprano Fotina Naumenko, and basso profondo. How did I do on that? I think well. Eric Alatorre, welcome to all 3 of you. And on behalf of all your colleagues, that was perfectly beautiful. It's just beautiful. Thank you so much.
So Matthew, let's start with you. Tell us about how Skylark came to be.
Oh, wow, that was a long time ago. About 13 years ago, this was an experiment, actually. The first concert was just across Copley Square in Old South Church during Hurricane Irene. There were about 4 people in the audience. Oh, no. And the winds were like 40 miles per hour outside. Yeah. But it was really an experiment to see. I was a college music person, but I didn't have the courage to pursue it immediately. And after being out working in the business world for about 9 years.
Bain, I heard you went to Bain Company. Went to Bain.
Yeah, also like right down here.
That's right, Mitt Romney.
Yes, yeah. We can talk about something else right now. We're talking about music, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, I was a Bain consultant, but I wanted to get back into music, and this was the experiment in 2011. And over the last 13, 14 years, it's become a really amazing reality.
Yeah.
Fotina, have you found in your experience that for there to be a great leader of an ensemble, you should have an MBA like Matthew has? You think? Let's forget. I'm kidding. You know, I say this every time a beautiful performing organization is here, and so I'll say it yet again. First person ever to say this to us was Andres Nelson, who's a former regular guest on our show, who's obviously the music director of the BSO. I don't know what the crisis was. It may have been the beginning of COVID or something. He said to us, he says, art matters all the time. It matters even more in times of pain and crisis and fear. And I would argue that most people feel now is a time of all those things. Do you subscribe to his thinking?
I absolutely do. And I find this music to be so healing and such a cry for peace. And I'm so grateful to be performing it with my dear colleagues and friends and sharing it with our audience.
Does that do it for you as well, this notion that it's even more special now than it is in normal times?
Absolutely.
Why?
People need something to hold on to, some vision of hope, some aspiration that things will be better. And so if it doesn't exist in their life at that moment, you can always look at what people are sort of aspiring to, what they're striving for. And art is a great sort of beacon to sort of reach towards.
And, we've talked about this, too, with Andres Nelson, because they play Shostakovich all the time at the BSO, who wrote under very scary circumstances with Stalin breathing down his neck in Russia. But tell us about Rachmaninoff. He left during the Russian Revolution and came to the United States.
That's right. This was a 1915 composition. And within 3 years, he was out of Russia in the U.S. for the rest of his life.
Why?
He fled during the Revolution. This music was actually banned after 1918. The choir that first performed it was disbanded. And Rachmaninoff came to the U.S. and made a whole new career as a concert pianist. And actually wrote op-eds in the New York Times railing against Stalin's violence.
Yeah, and part of the reason I understand that it may have been banned is because it was an anti-World War I piece. It was a piece about peace.
I think there's a thought that this piece, at the time it was written, was a profoundly pacifist statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you went over to get the original. You went to Moscow, Matthew, to get the.
Not in person, but digitally went to Moscow.
Oh, digitally. Oh, I thought you actually went there. I'm disappointed.
No.
Okay, but what were you doing when you looked at digitally then? I'm sorry you didn't go, but it's okay.
So 6 years ago, I got a copy of the handwritten autograph score. So the 80 pages written in under 2 weeks, 1915, in the composer's own handwriting. And we used that to make our performing edition of the piece. And Fortina and I worked on that, and we're singing from that tonight.
And Fortina, you translated. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I translated the text and I also notated it in IPA, which is the International Phonetic Alphabet, which is a way of notating sounds that singers use to approach languages that perhaps they've never studied before and never pronounced. So even when the alphabet is different, like it is in Slavonic or Russian, singers have a way to approach the text.
How did you know Slavonic and Russian?
So my family background is half Russian and half Ukrainian.
Oh, okay.
So I was born for this.
Okay.
So, Eric, ordinarily we ask a performer or a leader to introduce all their players, but unfortunately the show is only 3 hours long, so we can't do that today. But who are these people? I mean, who are all of you? Professional performers, performers who sing beautifully, part-time, who are all these people?
Well, they're top-notch musicians, every last one of them. There's an incredible pool of talent here in Boston, New York, from DC area, I mean, from all over. I'm from San Francisco. And it's just a collection of people who have an incredible passion for making music not only for the audience, but also together, that sense of ensemble. I mean, I've worked with a number of groups around the country, but there's a certain atmosphere here, more than a collegiality, almost like a family sense.
How do you bring them all together, Matthew?
It's a big logistical puzzle.
But I mean, how does it even happen? I don't mean logistically, but how are all these people from different places and different lives attracted to this one spot?
Well, we come into the room on Monday morning and start rehearsal, and this week we were performing on Wednesday. So there's a pretty small pool of people in the country who can do that, and they know each other. It's a big extended network, and the word kind of gets out. But we've had a pretty consistent core group of people for the last decade here in Boston, so it's over time slowly grown through word of mouth.
Can you describe the Rachmaninoff connection to your life, by the way, which you wrote a piece about it that is just totally beautiful. What happened to you and your wife and your kid and the whole deal? What was that?
Absolutely. 10 and a half years ago, we were in the hospital for the birth of our son, Harry, who's watching now. Hi, Harry.
Hello, Harry.
Hi, Harry.
And we were in the delivery room, and we had a recording of this piece, the Robert Shaw recording, on a Bose portable speaker. And it was playing when things suddenly became an emergency and we had to send Carolyn off into the OR to do a C-section, and I was left holding the speaker, playing this piece. And then they brought Harry to me afterwards. He had not met Carolyn yet, and this music was still playing. So the first thing that...
Well, he actually had met Carolyn, but he hadn't met Carolyn
well, she was
face
asleep.
to face, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He had not heard his mother's voice yet outside of the womb, and he heard this piece before he heard that.
That's totally great.
Which is totally wild.
That's great.
You know, Eric, I was reading about your background here, and I know you were in this group Chanticleer for many, many years, but you're also in a bunch of other groups, Seraphic Fire, Leonides, Conspirare, is that how you say
Yes.
it? 13, and then plus Skylark. So I take it that a lot of musicians that are here today are in multiple groups, because if you're just in one group, you're not going to be paying the rent. I would guess that's what's going on. You've got to be in multiple groups.
Absolutely. That's something that when I first was coming up, this opportunity to make a career out of the sort of ensemble singing really wasn't much of an option. And so it's so inspiring now to see my colleagues really going out there, hustling, working a lot harder than I ever did, making a career out of this. And the talent and dedication level that's required for that is really very impressive.
Because the concert tonight at St. Paul's, is this free? Or is there tickets?
There are tickets.
I was going to say, because I would be charging a lot if I were over there at St. Paul's.
SkylarkEnsemble.org, just to remind people.
Yeah.
How much work is that mustache? Can we get to that, please? I mean, everybody's thinking about it, so let's just get right to it. How much work is that?
Nowadays, not so much, but let's just say it was a poor choice in college.
Why is that? What do you mean?
It didn't exactly make me the most desirable for dating at the time.
Okay, that's an honest man there.
So when you talked about earlier, Matthew, people coming in from all over the country on a couple of days' notice. So this is a national group here.
It is a national roster.
Yeah. And tell us about getting nominated for the Grammys. How cool is that?
Oh, it's an incredible privilege.
Yeah.
It's been really fun.
Do you go to the awards?
We've been a couple times.
Yeah.
This year, actually, we had about 12 of us go to LA to be
neat.
there. And that was really fun to celebrate the work we had done the previous year.
Do they have a red carpet for the Grammys?
They do.
Yeah. Did you get to walk on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What'd you wear?
as well. Oh, just a tux. I'm
You wore a tux,
pretty
okay.
boring. Yeah.
Okay.
The
How about
smile on your face, Fotina, when Marjorie asked this question is huge. What was that like
What'd
for
you wear?
It was amazing. It was really surreal to go there and just celebrate with my colleagues, because we were really proud of our accomplishment. And it really felt like a win just to be there together.
You know, this is particularly for the two performers. Well, you're a performer too, but I mean those who are singing. This is a weird question, so I'll try to articulate this, but when you're performing, do you enjoy it as much as all of us do? I mean, some people say we occasionally do a good interview on the show. Was that great for you? I don't know. I'm not comparing us to you at all, believe me. But sometimes you get so lost in the work that you don't even know whether something was good or not. That was as beautiful gets. Do you feel that when you're doing it?
Yes, I really love the moments when you're in the flow and you're really not thinking, and you kind of wake up after the show and you think, wow, that was awesome.
That's
and I had a
exactly what I
great
was
time.
asking. Do you have the same experience?
Oh yeah, I've had experiences where I've been in a concert where I'm looking at the score and I just dive so deep into it, all of a sudden it's like the score expands where I can't see anything else.
You just get lost in it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden when I pull back focus, it's like it's the end of whatever I was doing, and I've been on this incredible journey without even realizing what had happened.
That's great.
So Matthew, tell us a little bit about Rachmaninoff. You're just playing two parts of this whole bigger Vesper thing, but tell us about this Vespers. We know it was written in 1915, middle of World War I, sort of a pacifist kind of thing. But just put it in the perspective of Rachmaninoff's career.
It was one of the two pieces that he said were his favorite things he ever wrote, actually. This and a piece called The Bells. And you might know Rachmaninoff more for his symphonic music or piano concertos. And this actually is a symphonic approach to choral music. And what we're singing today is some of the simpler things, but you just heard a lot of bell tones in that last thing, kind of bells pealing. And in this piece that's roughly an hour long, there are some moments that are extended, orchestrated passages for choir, where the choir becomes like a full stringed orchestra.
With people's voices coming in at all different places, like it were an orchestra.
Exactly.
And was this a religious thing originally for churches, or what's the deal?
Well, so the base material is chant and text from the Orthodox Church, but it was written for the concert hall. It's kind of like, imagine an audience in America now who kind of has an innate understanding of American hymn tunes like Amazing Grace. Imagine a composer creating a symphonic choral piece for the concert hall based on those tunes. That's kind of what this was.
Wow.
Yeah, can we get back to your MBA for 1 second before you sing again? We talk a lot about mid-career. You took a pretty bold one. And I think a lot of people who are not ecstatic with what they're doing admire those who have the courage. Was that a scary thing for you, or was it you knew it was the right thing to do and you just did it?
It was really scary. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew how to do a balance sheet. Conducting, not quite so sure. But my wife Carolyn and I both had MBAs and both doing consulting, and we had the advantage of being able to do this together. And so it wasn't just me going on my own.
And what was it like the moment you realized after the fear that you actually nailed it and this was going to work? Was that?
Well, it hasn't happened yet. But I will say that first weekend, we did our first concert, or I guess it was just a recording, in Church of the Redeemer in Chestnut Hill. And I walked out and got in the car afterwards and just burst into tears.
Oh, wow.
Because it had been 9 years since I'd done anything like that, and I wanted to be doing this.
Okay, so what are you going to be performing for us when the three of you return to the sort of stage setting here?
It's the sixth movement. The text that you might know if you're an English speaker is the Ave Maria text. And it's one of the more famous movements that are excerpted from this piece.
Can you three gently put your headphones down and rejoin your fellow performers? Totally beautiful.
We should mention that they're going to be performing the Skylark Vocal Ensemble tonight at 7 o'clock at St. Paul's Parish in Harvard Square, a rendition of Rachmaninoff's, this piece that they're playing from, the 1915 masterpiece, the All-Night Vigil. And we'll give you the rest of the lineup in just a second. But tonight, right here in Cambridge, they're going to be performing at St. Paul's Parish in Harvard Square.
Skylark Vocal Ensemble, yet again.